One. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to the Rinkcast Live, the Chicago Rinkcast for therink.com. My name is Andy Campbell. It's been a couple weeks. I'm here with my good buddies, the Bardo and Sean Fitzgerald. How are you, everybody? We're here to talk some Blackhawk hockey tonight. Coming off their win in Detroit. Quick shout out to our sponsors. Puck Hockey, PUCKHCKY.com. Use discount code The Rink in all caps for 10% off. $100 gets you a free t-shirt, so feel free to check it out. Get some good swag. How are you guys tonight? What's going on? It's been a couple weeks since my basement buddies, we've been hanging out here. What have you? Sean, what's the good word? How you been?
I've been good. The month of January is birthday extravaganza for me. Last Friday, last week, my mom's birthday was the 18th, and then my wife's birthday was the 21st. So, three birthdays in the month of January for me.
Excellent. Well, happy birthday to all the Fitzgeralds out there, and hope you are all doing well and you are healthy. And tell us about the lid. Why are we wearing Phillies tonight?
So, Juliana Nakache, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. I apologize if I butchered it. That's just
I'd be surprised. Normally, you're really good.
Yeah, I know. It's it's for me to mess up a name. It was given former Rink rat here, member of the Rink, is now the social media coordinator for the Philadelphia Phillies.
All right, Jules.
Which is awesome. Really cool.
And
so in honor of that, I wore the Philadelphia Phillies blue with the red here, the 2008 World Series champs hat. I bought it when I was in Philly several years ago, and I went to Citizens Bank Park and saw the Phillies get trounced by the New York Yankees. Jake Arrieta was on the bump for the Phils, and Luis Severino was on the bump for the Yankees.
Wow.
So, Philadelphia, if you have a great city, a lot of history, I highly recommend visiting. I will be back soon because we do have some family in the suburbs out there.
Awesome. And there is a story behind every single one of the domes that Sean Fitzgerald's had, and usually they're pretty good, and they revolve around sports, which is awesome. And the Bardo is here. Bard, how are we doing, my friend? What's going on? Welcome back. Good to see you.
Likewise. Doing fantastic. My Chiefs are about to play in the AFC Championship game. So I guess I have one sports team that's doing, pretty well. So look forward to that on Sunday. But that's it. Yeah, all good.
Yeah. Hey, at least you got one.
Yeah, they accomplished something in 17 seconds, I believe?
13 seconds.
13 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. 13 seconds. Pretty tough to beat. The NFL was wacky last weekend. Every game was so bloody exciting. And so, the teams that are remaining in the NFL obviously are all excellent. And while we continue to be in this search for excellence in Chicago, we haven't really found it yet, though the Hawks may have deceived their fan base a little bit last night with a 7-5 win in Detroit, the former rivals of the Chicago Blackhawks. It just doesn't seem to carry as much weight anymore, which is very, very sad. Gary Bettman decided to ship them off to a new conference. And two very close rivals that kind of dissolved a little bit. That said, Hawks win 7-5.
8-5.
8-5, excuse me, with that empty netter by DeBrinkies. And a lot going on in Chicago these days. A lot of news. And what's happening? They're opening up. But here we go. We think that Kyle Davidson is going to be the guy to take us in, the interim general manager. At least we thought through the rest of the season, taking it into the deadline. And then Danny Wirtz drops a bomb on everybody yesterday, and they are in the midst of a general manager search and believe that they're going to find who they're looking for before the trade deadline. So Kyle Davidson is still your acting GM, so he's still free to make moves as he pleases. He's also interviewing to be the general manager, but now they're conducting interviews right now, and they're saying they're interviewing some hockey people, some non-hockey people, which is actually really good. Get some fresh blood in there. What are we thinking, Bart? Are we going to go to you first? Do we think Davidson has a shot here? Is he going to make?
I do actually. I do. And if you guys remember yesterday in the chat that we all mess around in, One of the first thing I said was, I think Davidson's going to get this job. And someone had said in response, well, they said that they were looking outside the organization. So it sounds like it's not. Well, they could look outside the organization, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to get the job. And there's a good chance that they may bring somebody in to sort of be his right hand mentor, whatever it is, sort of an outside perspective, much like you bring in an assistant coach who,
Right.
Like a Marc Crawford, who has been a head coach and is experienced and is going to be there to hold the hand and support the younger head coach. So to me, I mean, and the logic that I was trying to use on this was, this person is going to be brought in before the trade deadline. And how is that person? Yes, they're going to have a fresh perspective, but they're not going to be watching everything. They're not going to know everything and what to do in a 1 to 2 week span. So to me, I think having that person, a fresh person, be a number one guy, to me is a little bit tough, but maybe be the right hand of Kyle Davidson. I think that to me makes more sense. So I actually am leaning today towards Kyle becoming the full-time GM.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel similarly. I think that some people on our chat group did not feel that way because they kind of said, no. After everything that's happened with the Hawks, it's time to go outside the organization here. And they for optics' sake, they can't just continue business as usual. They got to get fresh blood in there. Sean, what's your take on that? What's your take on this whole GM search?
So, funny, before we jumped on here, I actually read Scott Powers' athletic piece on Kyle Davidson being the logical choice for general manager. And I agree with Bard. Like, if they're going to bring somebody in outside the organization, how are they going to be? The trade deadline is still going to be all Kyle Davidson, because if you bring somebody in from outside the organization, there's no way they can assess every asset or, everything the Blackhawks have inventory-wise in terms of players in a 2-week span. Also, what Powers kind of brought up is Kyle Davidson is bringing a different approach to the organization. Prior to Kyle Davidson taking over as interim general manager, Stan Bowman would rush prospects up to the NHL and kind of hurt their development, and in the case like Dylan Sakura, destroy his confidence and probably his chances of being an NHL player. Mm-hmm. So I like that Kyle Davidson is taking that approach, and I think Kyle Davidson probably should be the general manager, but like Bard is saying, maybe they do co-general managers, or they bring in a president or somebody like that to kind of give an outside perspective. Davidson, I guess, is, from what I've read, highly regarded in the organization. Even if he doesn't get the general manager job, according to Mark Lazarus, he's still going to be within the front office. I guess he cut his teeth as a scout. Like he was a scout for them for a while, because he didn't play hockey at a really high level. Like, he didn't play in major junior. He might have played major juniors, but he didn't play like the AHL or the ECHL or anything like that. So he's highly regarded around the league. He seems like he gets it. And what I mean by that is he understands some of the failings of the organization in the past, like rushing prospects up. Like, I think Derek King was made the head coach because Jeremy Colleton was terrible, but Jeremy Colleton also never developed anyone. Derek King has been an AHL coach, and part of an AHL coach's job is to develop players. Like, not only do they have like fringe NHL guys, career AHL guys, they also have maybe not top prospects, but they have prospects in their organization on those teams that you want to try to develop into NHL players. And I think that was another shrewd move by Davidson, going with Derek King as opposed to a Marc Crawford or something like that. So I think Davidson probably will be the guy. This is kind of an outside thing. If they don't go with Kyle Davidson, or they do make him the GM, why not Theo Epstein for president of hockey operations?
Yeah. Well,
I'm dead serious.
No, I know. Does Theo Epstein have any interest in the sport of hockey?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, think of Paul DePodesta is the president of something or other for the Cleveland Browns. Yeah. He never did anything with football before he was made the president of the Cleveland Browns. Yeah. If they really want to go outside the box and have somebody who could bring some sort of managerial style or approach to his organization, why not Theo Epstein?
Well,
That's my wild theory.
Well, no, hey, I mean, who wouldn't love that if it happened? I think if the Blackhawks called Theo Epstein, he's probably going to laugh at them.
For sure.
I think his ambitions are probably to be the next commissioner of MLB baseball.
For sure.
But that said, I like both of your takes on Kyle Davidson. I think he will be the next GM as well. And I think there was something in the language in the release that the Blackhawks made where Danny Wirtz made it pretty firm that Kyle Davidson is going to be in the organization.
Yeah.
No matter what, that they're going to search and they're going to talk to some people, but that Kyle Davidson will be a part of the Blackhawks moving forward. And so they obviously don't want to lose him. Sounds like they like what he does. I do too. And so this all could just be smoke and mirrors to go through due process to let Davidson have the reins and do what he can. And I actually hope it is. He was not involved in the scandal. He had no part of that whatsoever. So it's not as if they need to clean house with him, whatsoever. And, what I actually really like about Kyle Davidson too, is he's not that visible. I thought Stan Bowman was too publicly visible and was too much, on stage and in a presence saying, this is about me, folks. This is what I'm doing here. Where Kyle Davidson is just I'm just very quietly going to leave guys like Beaudin and Mitchell and Reichel in Rockford where they're supposed to be when no one's going to be thinking about them right now. They don't need to be thinking about any of this, and they're just going to play and get better. So
that was actually the first thing that I thought of, is that this is a kid who has some of Stan Bowman's qualities, the analytics and all that other stuff, but he has no ego. I get that impression that he has absolutely zero ego. And I think actually he would embrace having, an outside perspective that maybe is experienced in the organization. So, to me, I just think that they're going to bring in somebody to be his right hand. And I don't know if it's going to be a younger person that's just moving up from another organization, or if it's going to be somebody who is, kind of getting towards the end of their career or whatever, or just looking for another paycheck. I don't know who that is.
I mean, could you imagine if 2 or 3 weeks before the trade deadline, they hire a new GM and say, this is yours? That just seems reckless.
The one thing I was going to say is, as they say, timing is everything. I mean, I don't think they anticipated firing, Stan Bowman when they fired him. I mean, maybe it was going to be an end of the season thing, and that way you wipe the slate clean, et cetera. But I mean, right now it's like, how do you put somebody in charge with the trade deadline looming? I just think that's a little dangerous. I think reckless is a good word that you use on that. But yeah, that to me is just, I mean, we could argue that this trade deadline is probably as important as any they've had in years.
So critical. So critical. Yeah. Sean, you were going to say something?
I was going to say, what I read too is that, like, Davidson's been involved with conversations with Jamie Faulkner, with Danny Wirtz. Like, he's been a part of the entire process. So, like Bard said, it's almost Bears-esque in that the ineptitude of their front office. I could see them doing a move like that, like bringing in a general manager and go, here you go, here's the keys. 2 weeks before the trade deadline, do what you need to do.
Right.
But as Bard said, like this trade deadline is hugely important to them. They don't have a first round pick. They have 3 third-round picks. You've got to try to acquire a first-round pick. You've got to ultimately, like, the team's not going to be able to go full-on rebuild because you're going to have 3 $10 million players on your books for the next 2 or 3 seasons.
They can't do it until sometime, maybe this time next year or a little bit further on down the road is when they can actually do it.
But they can start taking steps in that direction and start acquiring assets to be ready for that big transition or the big rebuild or whatever they're going to do. And they need the guy who's going to be able to shepherd that entire thing throughout. I also think Kyle Davidson is not he's a relatively young guy in terms of professional sports and age. So I think, like, him growing with the organization and growing up into be maybe the president of Hockey Ops someday is a perfect fit for Jamie Faulkner, who's kind of new in her role. Danny Wirtz is who's new in his role. all of them growing together as the organization hopefully grows in the right direction.
Yeah. Now, Eric, our buddy Eric, is convinced that it will not be Davidson in any way, shape, or form. I mean, he just thinks that, no, they're not going to do it. They're going to go outside. They have to go outside. The optics. Eric, I hope you're listening somewhere out there.
Wheaton Academy's finest, Eric Andrews. But there was Scott Powers did mention, hold on, who was it? It could be.
I mean, if there's someone that they're bringing in that has a ton of experience and has a total wow factor and is an absolute game changer, and we hear a name, we go, oh, well, then fine.
Yeah.
But, and our buddy Ozzy's writing in right now. Hey, Gate, how you doing? Saying they need a guy with experience. All right, well, then who's out there with experience? I can't even think of anyone off the top of my head.
And I don't disagree with that. They need somebody in that front office with experience. It's just a matter of, is that person going to be in charge, or is that person going to be more or less the right hand that has a significant role? I mean, we're not trying to position this person as being a lapdog. It's a person that's going to come into the organization and have a significant, say or voice, whatever it is. I mean, there's going to be one person in charge, and that's going to be the general manager, but this person is going to be heavily involved. So
Scott Powers suggests maybe Mathiew
Matthew Darsh.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're saying he could
Matthew
be
Darsh.
if he comes in to interview and knocks it out of the park, because he was on the short list for Montreal and Vancouver's general manager job.
Well, I'll tell you, I was a sophomore in high school, and I played for Choate Rosemary Hall, and my first varsity game, my center iceman was Matthew Darsh. So he was a great prep school hockey player, got one offer straight out of prep school hockey from UMass Lowell. He said, all right, I'm going to go back home. I'm going to play for McGill. Played 4 years at McGill, dominated, and then punched his ticket through the AHL and made it to the NHL. He's so smart. He's an incredibly bright person. If they could land Matthew Darsh, I'd be all about that.
Yep.
It would be an absolute incredible find. He's like I said, he's incredibly bright. He's awesome. So
maybe he's on the list. I guess the thing too about the search is we don't know who the candidates are. Like, we have no idea who they're interviewing.
Yeah.
No, and we might not for a while. I mean, if we see a list of names getting tweeted in the next few days, then maybe we'll all change our tune.
Right.
Gate is very busy right now in the comments section. He's suggesting Marc Hunter.
He loves Marc Hunter, and he loves Marc Hunter because of the development with the Toronto Maple Leafs, also him working with the London Knights in the OHL. Like I like Marc Hunter too. If Marc Hunter was a candidate, I wouldn't be. Let's say this. I won't be discouraged if Kyle Davidson is named the general manager, but if they bring in a Marc Hunter or somebody like that, I'll still be very excited about it. Yeah. As long as it's not like they name Eddie Olczyk president of hockey operations or something like that. Let's not take two steps backwards.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a seasoned GM though, and and you're being invited to work for the Chicago Blackhawks, you look at the cap, you look at all this mess, then you're like, man, I don't know. This is quite the undertaking. But it's a disaster.
But if you're a general manager, a season one, and I'm sorry, if you get to that level of position, you have the arrogance and the intelligence to think, okay, here's my plan to fix it. And I'm going to take these steps and I'm going to fix it. Then I'm going to restore prominence. Like, if you can bring the Blackhawks back to prominence again,
right? Like,
you'll be walking around town. You won't have to pay for a meal again.
Yeah. I wouldn't want Kevin Weeks or Eddie Olczyk as sort of an assistant GM. To me, it's almost like, bringing in Mike. It's like bringing in Mike Mayock to pair up with Mel Kiper Jr. to run the front office, and to me, that's just
bring in Milbury then at that point. Just burn it all down.
So now that we're starting to talk it through, we're starting to change our tune a little bit. I mean, 5 minutes ago, we're like, Davidson, wholesale, it's got to be the guy. Now we're going, well, wait a minute, this is good. We're getting somewhere. I don't know. I mean, it's anyone.
I don't know if he's going to be a good GM or not. I just have a feeling that they're going to name him and then bring somebody in as sort of like an Epstein
Hoyer type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. The tandem.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's like this guy comes from Tampa Bay. He was key in developing and drafting a lot of talent over there, and he's going to work with Kyle. That's what's going to happen. That to me, I think, is what's going to happen.
And that's a huge thing they need in the organization. They need to be. They haven't developed anyone. The last guy they truly developed probably is Teuvo Teravainen. Alex DeBrincat jumped right from juniors to the NHL and then made himself a better player at the NHL level.
Yeah.
Anybody else hasn't really even labored through the AHL.
Right.
That's why I love their approach with Reichel in that they have the 2-game showcase. I'm not really maybe we can talk about this. I'm not really keen about them trying to burn his ELC year. I don't understand what that would do. Like there's reports out there that they want to bring him back up and have him play more than the 7 games that he would.
I thought it was. Is it 7 or is it 9?
Well, it's 9, but he's already played 2.
Yeah, the
so
7 more games.
He'd have to play 7 more games.
7 more games, and they burn the first year of his.
They burn the first year of his ELC, and
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he's good enough to play, then I think that I don't know. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what they're gonna do? Well, so anyway, good luck to the Blackhawks in their search. I think we're all kind of on the same page, though, that it'll probably be Davidson's trade deadline.
Yes.
At the very least. And so to that point, that's a really good transition into our next topic is Hawks for sale. They're going to be sellers. Fools out there to believe that this team is going to all of a sudden go on a magical run and make the playoffs, even though there are still some of those folks out there. Don't buy it, people. It ain't happening. It's not, this Derek King magic since Colleton. Colleton dug a hole that was too big for anybody to get out of. And so to that end, there's going to be some Hawks for sale here. And I'd like each of us to try to touch base on a player that they think could go or should go for that matter. I think anything's open game. Let's qualify this or put some clarity around this. Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane will finish this season with the Blackhawks. That's probably going to happen. Given their contracts, you can't really move them. Even because there won't be a prorated deal where it's a half off price. The salary would be too tough to eat. The only pie in the sky magical scenario for Patrick Kane is maybe the New York Rangers, but so much stuff would have to happen for that. He'd want to have to go to the Big Apple. Jonathan Toews is not movable right now. I think we can all kind of concur on that with a $10.5 million first line center who would probably be a third line center, second line at best on any contending team. Too expensive. But I want to touch base on Marc-Andre Fleury. Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts, indicated both via his podcast and in writing that he fully expects the Washington Capitals to be the next destination for Marc-Andre Fleury. What say you on this? The dogs clearly have an opinion in the background, Shawnee.
Who let the dogs out?
They're saying, don't trade him. Don't trade him. He's such a good guy. Sean, what do you think? Fleury to the Caps? Possible? Likely?
I think it is. I think the Capitals make a lot of sense in that, like we discussed before jumping on the air here, they don't have a lot of long-term money, so they should be able to fit them under the cap, assuming they move a player or two. They have a couple prospects that would be interesting towards the Blackhawks. They're in a competitive division, and I believe, Bardo, correct me if I'm wrong, they're rolling out a younger goalie right now, if I remember.
Yeah, they have, I believe, 2 younger goalies. It's is it Ilya Samsonov?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one. Begins with a V.
Yeah, it's not.
I can't remember who they're playing with right now. I mean, to be honest with you,
I usually have this stuff up and running, so I apologize.
Keep going.
But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense for them. They're on the bubble right now, so maybe Fleury helps them down the stretch to get in. If they get in the playoffs, definitely a veteran goalie like Marc-Andre Fleury. Vinik Vanek is the other
Vitek Vanasek and Ilya Samsonov. That was right.
Yeah, they don't want to go into the postseason with that.
No. Marc-Andre Fleury has won a Stanley Cup. He's played in big playoff games. You're seeing what he's doing with the Blackhawks. He's probably one of the main reasons why they have a winning record under Derek King. The one thing I would worry about getting a Marc-Andre Fleury from the Blackhawks is the Blackhawks have played him a lot lately.
Yeah,
like I believe he's made like 30 of the last. He's made like 34 starts or something. 30 of 30. He's. I don't think we saw Kevin Lankinen for one game, and then he went in the locker room and his wrist was broken or something.
He has started 10 of the last 11. I know that for a fact.
And he's not a young guy, so that's the one thing I would be worried about.
Yeah, well, Delia is back, so praise the Lord. I mean, now we can all rejoice and be like, oh my gosh, now we're going to make it to the promised land. So that's great.
Poor Colin Delia. I wish the Blackhawks would just let him go. Just trade him away. They're not going to use him. They don't want him. It's abundantly obvious. I don't understand why they didn't try it. The only reason they didn't move him earlier is because he was hurt. Otherwise, I think he would have been the goalie sent to Buffalo instead of Malcolm Subban.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the other thing going back to the Capitals and the Flurry piece, the Capitals, they need to squeeze every last ounce of, I guess you could say, aging talent. I mean, they're going to be they've got a window maybe for the next 3 years, maybe 4 if they're lucky, to win a Stanley Cup or to try to win a couple Stanley Cups. I mean, guys like Ovi, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, even Lars Eller, guys like Connor Sheary. I mean, none of these guys are getting any younger. They've got very little coming off of their books. I mean, Justin Schultz and Michael Kempney are 2 UFAs. But other than that, I mean, they have guys that are going to be there at least through next season. Hagelin and Eller, Backstrom, Ovi included, who are going to continue to get paid. So they're saying we need to do this right now. So, I mean, I think it does make sense for Fleury to possibly be moved there. And if the thing is that if the market gets hot for Fleury, Brian McClellan, the GM of the Washington Capitals, is going to have to make another decision with the roster and to figure out what exactly he wants to do. And so last year he had tried to acquire Anthony Mantha, and Steve Yzerman just fleeced him. I mean, it was a first pick plus for Anthony Mantha. Gate has entered the building, folks.
Oh boy.
By the way, so welcome, Gate.
I was told we were going to talk about Colin Delia.
Oh, all right.
You just did. You missed that part of the program.
I just removed Gate from the stream specifically for that reason. We can move him back. Gate, welcome back. Anyway, going back to Fleury, though, so the Caps, what do you think, Bardo?
So this is interesting because I actually think this could potentially play into the Hawks' advantage in the fact that there's a team in Washington's division that is very much a mirror image of them, which is Pittsburgh. A team that's, got some goalie issues. They're an older team that probably has a window of, 2, maybe 3 years. I mean, look, they just re-signed Jeff Carter for 2 more years. So that pretty much tells you what they think in terms of their window. I mean, he's been a great fit, but he's 36, I think is what it is. So
he's 37.
37. Oh, there you go. He's 37. So to me, it's like those two are division rivals. They both have, holes at goal, not really holes, but they have probably a need for more experience in goal. To me, it's like you could create a bidding war. However, the interesting part about this is, doesn't Fleury dictate where he goes?
He does.
He's got a limited
trade clause.
10 teams. Yeah, I think it's 10 teams where he cannot be traded is the thing that he has. He modified that with Stan in the agreement when he came to Chicago.
Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah.
But look, if Washington and Pittsburgh are on there, I mean, Kyle or whoever it is running the front office can create a nice little bidding war between 2 rival teams.
Does Pittsburgh and or Washington have a first-round pick the Hawks can get? Because ultimately, I know Gabe's very adamant about this, and I am kind of too. I don't think they're going to get one for Marc-Andre Fleury, but I think that has to be the goal. You have to get they don't have a first-round pick. You have to get one, I think.
What about Edmonton?
Yeah, could be, but I don't know. The Evander Kane signing, welcome back, Gate. the Evander Kane signing in Edmonton, I mean, Edmonton needs to move a considerable amount of something. I mean, they don't really have any space whatsoever, I don't think.
No,
they're really up against it right now.
They have current cap space $954,637 in LTIR money. That's it.
Right. Yeah. So they don't have.
So I just don't think that a 37-year-old goalie. Now I know he's a year removed from being a Vezina winner, but I just don't think a 37-year-old goalie rental is going to get you a first-round draft pick. I just don't. Like maybe a second and a prospect or something.
For
sure. You're not getting a first-round draft pick for that guy.
For sure, and I agree with you on that one. I said the goal you should start asking for a first round pick, and hopefully somebody gets reckless and gives you one. But I don't think
I agree with that, and I think it's going to come down to what the market bears, because I think if I remember correctly, who was that fourth line center that Nashville got or they traded for that everybody went after about 5-6 years ago, and he fetched a first round pick. I'm trying to remember his name, but he was a great face-off guy. He's no longer in the league.
No idea.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah, but I think that if the Blackhawks do trade him to Washington, I think that best case they probably won't get a first round pick unless they have some sort of package with Flurry and with someone else. But I mean, if they can get a prospect out of Washington that doesn't have a shot at making the big club that's still promising, we mentioned on our chat Alexander Alexiev. Who's with the Hershey Bears, 6'4", 196-pound defenseman. He's 22 years old. He was their first-round pick, in 2018. If they could try to score some, a decent prospect out of that and maybe take on another player with it, that might be best-case scenario. But I agree. I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury by himself will garner a first-round draft pick. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, now, it's interesting. I mean, a guy like, our buddy now in Minnesota, Hartman, the Hawks got a first round pick for Hartman
from
when
Nashville.
They him away, and he was not the player he is right now. But they also
he had age on his side. He had age on his side, and there was a chance he was going to resign there. There's no chance that Marc-Andre Fleury is resigning with Washington or with Edmonton or with anybody other than Vegas Golden Knights.
Correct. Yeah.
They also with the Hartman trade, they also gave up an additional draft pick. It was Hartman. It was Hartman and a fourth or Hartman and a fifth for a first. So I mean, you still got to give up more than Marc-Andre Fleury if there's any hope.
Well, the Blackhawks have 4 third-round picks, so maybe attach 2 of those, or you got to get something. The goal of the trade deadline has got to be to maximize your return and hope you can get a first-round pick.
Well,
and then,
if you're gonna do that, and I truly I know Marc-Andre Fleury is the player. I don't that everyone wants to talk about. Dominic Kubalik is another player. Dominic Kubalik by himself probably can't fetch a first rounder.
No.
Maybe the only asset that they really have that they should possibly consider moving that could get a first round plus back from is honestly Brandon Hagel. And I know that sounds sacrilege to a lot of Blackhawks fans right now. But if you're really going to do this thing and you're really going to rebuild a year from now and do a real rebuild, you have to sell high on everybody you can. And I actually think that does include Brandon Hagel. And the style of play that he plays, we don't know the shelf life of Brandon Hagel. If he's going to play for 10 more years in the NHL with the style and the grit that he plays with. I don't know we don't even know if his value of it.
Yeah, but what is Brandon Hagel? On a good team, what is Brandon Hagel? A third-line player?
Third line.
He's a third-line grinder guy for your postseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't need to hang on to a third-line grinder guy.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone loves him and all that, and I get it. You love him because he's a team, he's a team guy, and he plays hard and all that stuff, but what does that really get you in the long run? You're just hanging on to him until he fades away.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean you got to take that chance. He might be the only tradable chip that they have that could fetch first round talent.
That's not. I mean, if they really want to get nuts, they could move Alex DeBrincat for. If they had a huge package, they could move Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah,
they won't do it.
Yeah, I think moving DeBrincat. When you think about the bigger business of hockey and the dollars and cents,
for sure, he sells jerseys. He scores.
Yeah,
he's right, but. Frank Cervelli, I believe, said that he wasn't untouchable, and then amended his statement saying that unless they're completely wowed or blown away by an offer for Alex DeBrincat, they're not going to move him. So, because the only untouchables are the three guys with the three big contracts.
Put on your history hats. Going back to 2012, you remember Paul Gostad?
Oh
yeah.
Paul Gostad and a 2013 fourth round draft pick to the Sabres for a 2012 first round pick. This guy was a bottom six center, great at faceoffs, no question about it. But he got a first round pick. He netted a first round pick.
Yeah.
Troy Brouwer, and I understand the timing was different, got a first round pick.
Yeah.
And wingers are a dime a dozen.
Troy Brouwer was a proven player on a cup team, though. Flurry
but I think the economics of hockey has changed in that, like, the salary cap isn't going up.
No,
it's probably going to stay flat. So first round picks, while more expensive,
it's cheap talent.
It's cheap talent, at least for the first 3 years of the deal, and then it'll be a little bit more expensive if you do a bridge deal or what have you. But it's cheaper talent.
Who knows? I mean, it's got to be Flurry plus, I think, with the first round. If you're going to
Flurry, Colin Delia, a third round pick, that gets you that, or you just whoever doesn't get Flurry between the Capitals and the Penguins gets Colin Delia. There you go.
Why not package Flurry and Hagel?
Well, no, that'd be great.
That'd be
Flurry and Hagel. You could get maybe a first round and a really good prospect,
or Flurry and DeHaan.
DeHaan's another one that they should be looking to move. I know he's playing well with Connor Murphy, but
no, he's in a contract here. He's not coming back.
It's the first year he's been healthy with the Blackhawks. You maximize what you can get for him and get him out of town.
DeHaan solo gets you nothing. If you trade him by himself, you get nothing.
Lucky if you get a fourth.
You get nothing. I mean, you get fifth or sixth round pick. So, Flurry and DeHaan. I mean, DeHaan would be a good insurance policy, to be in Washington. That's for sure. But then again, he makes a lot of money. That's expensive. How can they do that?
Just unload every veteran that you get a good, solid offer for.
Yeah.
Really,
seriously.
Yeah. I mean, and what is Dominic Kubalik on a contender? Third, fourth line guy?
I would say
third.
I
think he's a borderline middle six winger that can score on the power play.
Yeah, I think he's definitely on your power play.
Yeah.
Definitely on PP1.
Yeah. So I would like to see, I mean, I don't know if it's Davidson or a new guy. Again, we do think it might be Davidson's trade deadline, regardless of who comes in. But
are we skipping over the elephant in the room here? Andy's guy, Dylan Strome.
Like, we have a special tab. I haven't built a banner.
Dylan Strome talk. This is what I'm here for, guys.
All right, here we go. Dylan Strome. By the way, Gate might sound a little fuzzy, but folks, we got to call in tonight, which is pretty big time. It makes us feel a little bit more official.
Yeah, he's on a CB radio on I-80 heading west.
If I knew ahead of time, I would have just said, "Hey, we're hitting the phone lines, folks."
I'm on the way home from the hockey rink. Sorry, my kid had to leave, so I wanted to join in.
No, it makes us sound pro.
Yeah, it's Frank from Orland Park.
Gate needs to tell us he's a first-time, long-time.
There you go. So
I don't know about long time, but first time definitely.
I'll hang up and listen.
A long time caller, first time listener.
Well, let's talk about Dylan Strome. What do you do about him? What do we do? Someone say something. I obviously everyone knows how I feel about this guy, so someone else talk, please.
Kate, the floor is yours.
Oh, I was going to say the media.
I mean, he's not going to be any higher than he is right now. Get something for him. If you're going to unload him, and you've been trying to unload him for 2 years, get something for him. He just had a hat trick. He's on the rise. Like, his value is not going to be any higher than it is right now. Get something for him and get him out the door.
And here's what I'll say about Dylan Strome is that, he's been clearly screwed around with. I mean, look, let's not act like if you all of a sudden put him with top six players, that he's going to produce. But he's shown that he can at times. We definitely know he's not a bottom six guy. But if you have a need for a top six center. That's the good news, is that he plays center, even though he's horrible at faceoffs.
He's been 61% as of late.
Even the sun shines on a dog's behind every now and then.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what the media is doing. They've been pumping his tires on his faceoff. The Ben Pope Dylan Strome fan club.
Oh, Lazarus too. Oh God.
Sakes.
But yeah, you hope that you could capitalize on a team that just has, weakness at center. So
because they were trying to get a third round pick for him all off. They weren't even getting third round offers. So if you get a third round pick at this point, I think you got to move him. Yeah. I'll take a fourth.
Number one, everyone in their career who's played on a line with Patrick Kane has produced, period. I mean, Kane does that. He makes everyone around him better. Dylan Strome, I think I'm going to try to be patient here without going totally off the rails. But the problem with Dylan Strome is not a good enough skater to be on a cup contending team. He's slow. Mm-hmm. His feet do not move very fast.
Nope.
In an NHL playoff game, he won't even be able to keep up. I mean, I actually think it comes down to that. He's just not good. So, I mean, I know, Gate, you're saying go get everything you can for him right now. I'm not giving anything for Dylan Strome.
Somebody will give up a fourth round pick. You'll get a fourth. You'll get a fourth.
Man. Well, then great. Take it and run with it. I mean, this is a guy. He doesn't play big against big teams. He's what is it? 16 points on the power or 9 of his 16 points are power play points. He's got 6 points against teams that this year that are going to be in the playoffs. Sure, he had a field day against Detroit when they were all sleepy last night.
But also, like Bard said, he's been misused. Like they kept trying to make him into a fourth line guy. He's not a fourth line guy. It was putting a square peg in a round hole the whole time.
Where do you use him?
The best chance they have to get something decent in return is to send him to the Rangers where he can play with his brother. The team has a need for another top 6 forward. That to me is where you send him. And you hope and pray they'll give you something of value. But apart from that, I don't really know where else he would go.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I am all about the, hey, trade him now. And if you can. But now here's a counterpoint. And this is interesting. And I can't believe I'm saying this. And I can't believe I actually wrote this. If you actually are committing to a rebuild, is it okay to have your number 2 center and possibly your number 1A center, if you ever trade Jonathan Taves, being Dylan Strome for a little while, who will cost you nothing more than $1.5 million per after this season? No, is it almost worth opening up your cap to do more things to keep him around?
No, we know what he is.
Yeah,
he's not good.
I'd much rather run Borgie out there or Philip Kurashev.
I was just saying, but Kurashev there, Borgstrom.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, if you're looking to actually rebuild and shed dollars, he's an upcoming restricted free agent. You've got everything at your disposal with restricted free agents, and he's absolutely cheap labor. I mean, that's the only thing. If you're
Kyle Davidson gave him $3 million or whatever.
Yeah, but he's not gonna make that much coming back next year. Well, maybe if you hold on to him and don't trade him, and then he's lights out the rest of the year somehow. I don't know.
Just if he doesn't get dealt, like they're just gonna have to waive him. Like there's no point anymore.
Yeah.
Brett Connolly, man, he got waived.
Yep. Stromer. I mean, I think maybe Marc Bell was more productive than Dylan Strome during the dead puck era. Probably Kyle Calder too.
Tyler Arneson.
I mean, it's a grim scene with
Flurry.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that he got that. Got that hat trick last night. Congratulations, Dylan Strome, on your hat trick. You continue to haunt my dreams. I haven't been the same since you joined the Blackhawks, and you're not panning out. Anyway,
yeah.
At any rate, anyone else trade chips that we have not mentioned thus far? Would you dare move any of the prospects that are in Rockford right now as sweeteners if it meant getting first-round picks back?
Yes. It depends on who it is. If it's Galvis, if it's Michael, if it unfortunately, Andy, I think your guy Regula probably should be moved.
He could be. He might not. He might not work.
maybe Evan Barrett.
Yeah, Barrett won't be playing.
Louis Servier, whatever his name is.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to think. Maybe Louis Creever. Is that you're thinking of? Creever. Yeah.
Now we're talking about guys I don't even know.
Yeah. But but you don't want to like. So the prospect pool is very, very thin.
Yeah.
It's Reichel, Galvis. Maybe they're going to be patient with Beaudin. They're going to be patient with Mitchell. So I don't think you move either of those guys unless somebody really wants them. Isaac Phillips, he came out for those 3 games early in the year. You probably don't want to move on from him. Soderblom is probably your only developmental goalie in the system, so you're going to keep him.
Next to Comesso.
Yeah, Comesso. Well, Comesso is not in the system yet because he hasn't signed.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Gabe. He's sitting down. What fun.
Gatorade.
So our caller, folks, is now in his home.
And I mean.
And he's live. So.
And definitely don't want to move Nolan Allen because he was your first overall pick.
No, he's not going anywhere. Well, speaking of prospect, Shawnee, you got a prospect outlook coming up right now. You're thinking about something. So what are we talking about here? What's the deal on the Hawks prospects?
So I'm kind of just looking at in my piece what they did, the formula, quote unquote, understand Bowman, and then what the formula going forward should be. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff, but just kind of looking at it in depth in terms of like, I read an article. It's several years old, but Dauber Prospects says that a first round player or a first line player in the NHL should at least spend close to a year in the AHL, and the Hawks weren't doing that. The Hawks were promoting guys right away. Now you look at it too. It also depends on where they're drafted. Like Kirby Doc, 3rd overall pick, they weren't going to send him back to the WHL because he was going to dominate there, and they couldn't send him to the AHL because of the agreement between the CHL and the NHL that no player under the age of 20 years old can play in the AHL unless they're on an NHL team. So there's a lot of logistics in that, but just kind of looking at what they need to do in terms of that. And I like the planning thus far for what they have for Reichel and what the vision is for guys like Mackenzie Entwistle, Philip Kurashev. Yeah. I think Derek King was the right hire because of the developmental aspect of it. Our buddy Al, Crazy Al, I don't know if he's crazy or not, but that's what I'm going to call him, had a post or tweet the other day that said Jeremy Colleton set the organization back in terms of development too, which I think is a valid point because he didn't develop anyone at any stop along the way.
Colleton or Bowman. Bowman didn't develop anyone either during his entire tenure.
He didn't know how to.
No.
Mm-mm.
But Sam Bowman,
they developed no one.
No, he didn't have to early, so he never learned to.
Right.
I mean, it was just he was given gold. He was handed a Mercedes with the keys and said, "Go."
And he just had to trim around the edges.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it could have ended up like Edmonton, where they got the 2 best players in the world and they can't do anything with them. But that being said, he didn't develop anybody else either.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. I do like, again, I mean, I think the Hawks are finally being patient with the guys that they need to be patient with.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see, they're not oozing with talent, but it is good at that guys like Beaudin and Mitchell, aren't up with the big club right now, stealing minutes from a veteran when they should be learning how to play the game.
But also too, like Sean said earlier, they're just itching to get Reichel in there. They got the shiny new toy, and they're just itching to throw him out there.
Right.
Why?
Well,
it doesn't do any good.
No, I'm excited about him too, but they're doing the right thing. Thank goodness they stuck to that original plan where they said, hey, he's only coming up for a couple games, and then he's going right back down. And then they did that. Yeah. That was good. That was good.
And they toyed around with Boquist too. They're like, oh, we're going to send him back to London for a year. But what did they do? As soon as they got him in the pros, they were racing him into the NHL.
Yeah. Well, and that was sad because he physically was not ready. I mean, that poor kid was getting crushed by everything.
And then they gave up, and then they realized he wasn't polished, and they gave up on him and got rid of him. which is what their MO was. If you didn't succeed in your first season in the NHL with no developmental help, they're going to jettison you out of town.
Look at Yogi Hara.
Let me throw this out there at you guys.
What do you got?
What if they don't throw Kirby Dach into the NHL in his first season?
I know.
And they let him develop, maybe wherever. They let him develop for a year instead of trying to say, hey, we got the shiny new toy. He's the 3rd overall pick. He's going to be the next Jonathan Toews as they build him. Mm-hmm. What if they let him develop? Because look at what he's doing this year. He's not really doing a whole lot of anything. He's kind of just a guy.
You know what I would say to that? He would probably develop properly. I would assume that Reichel would too. And then all of a sudden, I would feel a lot better about the organization because they have 2 potentially top 2 centers that are marinating right now.
Yeah,
the team may not be that good, but then you have 2 centers. Your future is basically set at center, which is the hardest position to fill.
Yeah, I mean, poor Kirby Dach. I mean, he was definitely he's certainly a victim of circumstance. I mean, this was a very desperate Stan Bowman to try to hit a home run on that 3rd overall pick.
And then the rule,
and then he went to World Juniors, which I don't think was the wrong move, and he broke his wrist, and that was just really unfortunate.
That hurt him.
I think that tournament. Being on a world stage, if he was the guy and Canada won gold, could have changed his trajectory too.
Yeah, it's confident
because he was playing well in the play-in tournament for the
Edmonton bubble,
and then I think if he would have went to the World Juniors, kept that momentum going, kept developing, he probably would have been way better off than he is now. But then he broke his wrist, and then they rushed him back to play 12 meaningless games. It was.
And he is what, five games total in Rockford in his career or something?
Yeah,
it's 5 or less.
Yeah, because when he got hurt, he was hurt in training camp his rookie year, so they were able to assign him down there. Because I was at the opener for Rockford that year, the home opener, and got to see Kirby Dach play in his first professional game, which might be an act.
And think about some of those folks that are saying even Kirby Dach should be on the table to be moved. Well, if he gets traded to Toronto, or if he got traded to Colorado, he's a healthy scratch in the playoffs. I mean, he's not playing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think he cracks the lineup.
No.
I mean, he's just kind of a guy right now.
Yeah. And
he's got no place really in the lineup. They're shifting him up and down. He's not really scoring. He's not really winning faceoffs. He's not really doing anything extraordinarily well. And this is his 3rd year in the NHL.
120 some odd games.
Yeah. What has he got? Like, I looked last week, but he's got 20 something points or something, or maybe 30.
Yeah, which is
I don't even know if his analytics for that.
He's got 14 points this year. That's it.
Yeah, there you go. He's going backwards. He's regressing.
He really has no confidence.
We are about to finish the month of January, and Kirby Dach has 1 goal and 1 point. That's it.
Yeah, I mean he is definitely regressing.
He's played
in your 3rd year in the NHL, you should be hitting your stride. Mm-hmm. Finally, if you're going to be a star, you should be getting to that echelon. And he's gone backwards every single year. Now, granted, there are injuries involved in there, and I'm not faulting him saying he's a bust. I don't even want to say he's a bust because he's not.
Not yet.
But he could turn into a bust the way they've handled him. They've handled him so poorly. They handled Boqvist so poorly.
Yep.
They've been horrible at developing talent, and they need to be able to develop talent to rebuild.
Yep.
And they're, as JJ always said, half pregnant,
Shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why not only whoever they add to the front office is going to be critical, but it's also who's going to be the head coach. I mean, that person. I mean, they haven't had anybody developing talent. None of these coaches have.
Yeah, they got to look. They definitely got to look at how they do their coaching within the organization in terms of the AHL and the NHL coaching staffs for sure.
And also, let's be honest. Joe Quenneville is not a development guy either.
No,
he was there to win at the NHL level. He didn't develop guys either.
No,
neither did Colleton. They build Colleton.
No, but that's
build
not
Colleton
why. That's not why.
They build Colleton as this guy who's the young guy. He speaks to the young kids. He didn't develop jack shit. He didn't develop anybody.
No, if he didn't like somebody, Stan Bowman shipped him out of town. Henrik Jokiharju. Imagine what he would have been.
Hendrick?
Yeah. Jeremy Colleton. No business.
Whatever his name is.
Coach. Jeremy Colleton's was Stan Bowman's message to the organization and the players and saying the team is mine.
Yeah.
I'm going to hire a buffoon and just hope that it works out. No, Joe Quenneville did not develop talent, and that's not why he wasn't hired. I mean, they got rid of Dennis Savard at a time where they're like, it's go time.
Yeah.
We got the tools. Let's get the guy in to do it.
We got the tools. We got the talent.
It's Miller time.
Yes. Always with the Ghostbusters reference. I
So
love
good.
it.
So good. Ernie Hudson.
Oh.
We got the tools. We got the talent.
I mean, you know me. I'm the Ghostbusters guy. I got the
There it
Ghostbusters
is.
on my arm.
I love it. That is excellent. Any other final thoughts as we approach the hour here, fellas? Anything else on your mind regarding this team? Things that you'd like to see the remainder of the year? Obviously, big question marks. Things of concern. I mean, we could be very bored very quickly. Last night's game was very entertaining. More games like that would be at least fun.
Mhm.
At the same time, fans, don't be fooled if that happens. This team is not contending. Thoughts?
I agree with that. I mean, even last year when they were bad, they were winning those, these run and gun games. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
Let some of the guys go out there and score some goals, get some experience. That's cool. But keep the guys like Reichel, keep them in the AHL. Just like there's no reason to burn him. There's no reason to expose him to a losing culture for no reason whatsoever. Just stay the course, get anything you can in a reasonable deal for some veterans. And I'm not saying Taves and Kane, because those guys are, like they said, they're going to have to ask to get out of town.
Yeah.
So they're going to be around. You're going to waste 8 years of their prime, and that's fine. You're already gone down that track. There's no unscrewing that pig.
No,
you just have to go do it, man.
Fix the foundation. Don't renovate the kitchen right now. That's what you got to do.
Right. Exactly, Bardo.
And keep Galvis down too. I don't want to see him up anymore.
Yeah,
Either.
I actually quite like him.
I do too, but I don't want to.
him,
Don't let him play the 20 to 25 minutes a night down Rockford.
You have to have a farm system.
Right.
You have to have it.
Keyword system. We have none.
And get an idea what you're going to do in goal, because once Marc-Andre Fleury's gone, what do you got? You got Kevin Lankinen. Is he a number one goalie? Probably not. He's probably a 1A or 1B kind of guy. So you got to figure out what you're going to do. Delia will be gone because he's not going to re-sign with this organization. You have Soderblom, maybe. Maybe he's going to be the guy. He's 22 years old. You don't know what you're going to get out of this guy.
Yeah.
So figure out what you're going to do in net. You got Drew Comesso in the pipeline.
Yeah,
so maybe he's the guy.
But please don't break the bank on some.
No.
And spend 7 years on them.
No.
Bob Essenzo or something like that.
Yeah. No. Draft and develop. Draft and develop. Don't bring anybody in. Don't be bringing these veterans in anymore. It's not worth it anymore. Unless it's like, Thomas Greiss or something like that. Some guy to fill in for a year.
Bring in some other team's number two who played 20 to 25 games a year and have him go with somebody else. I don't know.
Have him go with Lankinen.
Yeah. They're just
that's fine.
Whatever. Right. And that's
they
fine.
work. Lankinen worked fine in the tandem.
Yeah.
And Lankinen won't be the guy when you're good anyway.
No.
Yeah.
You're just biding time right now.
Maybe Soderblom will be, but not.
I'm more concerned with rebuilding the defense and rebuilding the rebuilding the forwards, because quite frankly, if you have those rock solid, you could find an Antti Niemi or whoever it is and win with that guy. So you just need him to make a key save here and there. But if you have the defense and the forwards, you're set. That's what you need. The guys in front of the goalie.
So I mean, this time next year, we're going to have a very exciting time pre-trade deadline with Kane and Taves dangling out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's when things could actually get really interesting.
I don't think they do it.
I don't think they do it, Gate. I'm with you.
You think Hawks for life?
No. I think they're gonna lose them for nothing, probably.
I think they're gonna offer Kane a deal when they can extend him, and if they offer Taves anything, it'll be less money, and he'll be insulted and he'll leave. I don't think they can't re-sign both of them at the same amount of money.
So you guys honestly don't think that this time next year, if they're in the middle of another decrepit season, that Kane or Taves won't finally go in and say, "Can you move me?"
No,
I do.
Kane's a historian.
Why wouldn't you have done it already?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they could have, but management could also say to them, "Look, we're going to have a really hard. You want to go to a contender who are all cap strained? We don't know how we're going to do this."
Well, I mean, they did Duncan Keith. Duncan Keith, he has to leave. They got rid of him. One way or the other.
He had actually a very manageable salary too.
That was a much more manageable salary than 10.5 per. I mean, it was almost half of what these guys make.
If somebody wants them, they'll make it happen.
Yeah. I think so. You could eat half the salary. Then you get him down to what, $5 million?
$5 million.
$5 million cap hit.
Yeah,
But I
that's not
think
what
the
it's-
interesting thing is going to be with this new general manager. If they basically come out and say like what the Rangers did and said, we are rebuilding, then the writing's on the wall, and then they're going to probably either be asked or they're going to go approach management and say, trade me. I just think that's going to happen.
I don't think the Wirtz family is going to do that, though. As our good friend JJ always said, like, they want to sell jerseys. Patrick Kane sells jerseys. Alex DeBrincat sells jerseys. They give you the highlight goals. I think they're going to move on from Jonathan Taves.
Once upon a time, they also let guys like Ronick and others like rot on the vine. They got old.
Yeah, that was Papa Wirtz. That wasn't.
I understand that, but it's still, they're still got the same last name. But and I get that, but I think they really need to make that hard decision. And look, I think Dolan wants to win.
I think if we do get a better GM in, like we talked, Gate, you wrote in about Mark Hunter and a few other guys. If we actually do get a decent hockey mind that does arrive on the scene, whether or not he's working in tandem with Kyle Davidson or not, I think Patrick Kane gets traded next year. I do. I don't think he's going to waste away and then re-sign somewhere else. I think he moves before the deadline.
I honestly just don't. I think they're going to let it go. I think they should have traded him when he had value. He's going to have a lot less value when he's got a $10 million.
I agree with you.
For 3 months of Patrick Kane,
at a prorated rate. So
at a prorated rate, yeah, sure. Maybe to a
you're
team
not going to get the value.
Half often you can still eat a meal or two.
You're not going to get the value that you would if you approach him in the offseason and say, hey, we're going to rebuild. I know we'd like you to move on.
Well, no, for sure. For sure. I mean, if they can do it in the offseason, do it in the offseason. I'm just saying that I do actually think that he gets dealt and there is an actual return.
And Kate, I'm with you. I said it 1,000 times.
I don't think he becomes a free agent and leaves on his own. I think he gets.
I do.
Yep. No, Kate, I was going to say, like, I'm with you because I said back in 2016, I think it was, after they got swept by Nashville, that they should have traded both Taves and Kane and just rebuild the sucker. Because they won 3 cups. At that point, it's just like, but they were never going to do that. They were never going to do that.
No. Stan Bowman, I mean, this is unacceptable, blah, blah, blah.
They've wasted 6 years of these guys' primes. And now it's not even Jonathan Taves' prime anymore.
No.
He's over his prime. And I have no inside information on this. This is just what I'm thinking based on the way this organization runs, is that they offer Jonathan Taves like a $4 million or $3 million salary, and he sticks around.
That I can see.
Because he's the captain.
That I can definitely see. He's like
Patrick Kane, though, I think he goes. He walks. I think he walks somewhere to get a chance to win somewhere else. Taves, I don't think he's going to get that chance to go somewhere else. I don't think someone's going to give him the money. He's just going to say, well, you know what? I did the best I could. Here I am. I'm going to ride it out as the captain of the Blackhawks for the rest of my career on a $4 million salary or whatever.
I'm comfortable here. My house is
still
here.
Struggling the way that he is, and he's more or less looking finished, and COVID just destroyed his career. I don't think that he's tradable, period. And I think you're right. He could come back. Maybe you get him on a 1-year cheap deal. But if Kane is still playing at somewhat of a high level, then there's going to be a market for him.
Oh,
right.
Sure.
But is he going to want – why would you want to be traded when you could just wait it out and go sign someplace else in the offseason?
Because you have a chance to win a Stanley Cup versus staying on a rebuilding team.
Some people
and still
don't
get
like
that free agency
don't like change. They'll wait until the offseason.
Who knows?
I mean, it all depends on, what kind of market there is for him at that point. I just don't know that the Blackhawks have the nuts. They don't have the nuts to pull the trigger on something like that. I think they've gotten this far. And like I said, you can't unscrew that pig. They've got that far down the road with not trading him when they should have for maybe the last 2 years, possibly. Now you're all the way at the end of the line, and now you're just going to let him go for a fraction of what you could have got 2 years ago. I think they're just going to ride it out. I really do. I mean, right or wrong, I think they're going to ride it out.
Okay, cool. I like it. We got some good opinions on here. We agree to disagree. I do think he'll get traded. I do agree with Jonathan Taves, though. He could have a Kerry Wood-like exit where he says, "Oh, I owe this organization. They stuck with me, so I'll come back for peanuts and then ride off into the sunset."
So is he going to retire mid-season? They're going to pull him out on during a shift. He's got to go.
No, it'll be a Jonathan Taves tour where he tours the NHL and plays against every team one last time. That
they give him golden sticks.
Maybe they do a one last shift for him mid-season.
No, because you could sell Jonathan Taves jerseys, his last season
You could
ride
put a
out to the
patch on it.
sunset.
I could definitely see that.
You could put a patch on the jersey,
Yeah.
say Taves is like put
Yeah,
like a 19
so
on
I
all
think
the other jerseys.
We're definitely under agreement. At some point, Patrick Kane's going to wear a different NHL uniform, and Jonathan Taves probably won't. I think
Yes.
that's where we're at. Okay, that's good.
And Riley
Even if they don't offer Taves something, I think that's when he retires.
Yeah, he could, and maybe he'll retire after this year. For all we know, he might be
Maybe.
like, "That was really hard." Yeah, I'm still beat up. I'm still banged up. I've done everything I can. It's
He'll
not
open a PR firm after that.
Put him on LTIR for the year, and
Just don't put a microphone in front of him.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we could bury him in the tiny arena in Phoenix.
for goodness sakes. Yeah. I don't
The
know. The
ASU
NHL,
sports
Gary
complex.
Bettman in Phoenix. Will you guys please figure it out and go somewhere? It is just not working. Anyway, all right.
City.
Well, that's all we got tonight, folks. Good stuff. Gate, welcome back.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good to see you. One last shout out to our sponsor, puckhockey.com, PUCKHCKY in all caps.com. Use discount code. Yeah, it's right above that finger. You see, he's hitting the C. Use discount code The Rink, all caps, 10% off, $100, free T-shirt. How about that, folks? Spend $100 to get a beauty T-shirt. Anyway, puckhockey.com. Thank you very much. Good to see you all. On behalf of the gatekeeper, Sean Fitzgerald, and the Bardo, y'all have a good night. We will see you next week, and we'll talk more Hawks, and we'll talk more hockey. Take care, folks.